Well, good morning, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and it's a delightful 9 degrees this morning, which is 48 in northern Washington state. I'm just looking at the definition of frustrating. I think I might have told you that my neighbor decided to put in a new driveway and pathway all the way around his house and then flow it right into a new big back deck, which is wonderful. And so yesterday afternoon we washed the cars because they were covered in dust, as you can imagine. Well, we didn't know that late in the afternoon the neighbor would then start cutting expansion slots into the cement. So all our beautifully washed cars are now covered in dust again. And if you think it's just the cars, it isn't. It's crept into the house, it's everywhere. And it just is what it is, right? You just, unfortunately, it's like, I'm sure that my neighbors had the same problem when I was doing my renovations, with all the sawdust that was floating around in the air. So I really have nothing to complain about. It's just a fact. It's, you know, it's just one of those things about doing renos. There's going to be a mess, and the mess includes the people next door. And it was funny because I was noticing my neighbor on the other side of me. He's busy washing down his car this morning. That would have been a good thing if I'd done that. But I really didn't realize how much extra dust there was going to be. Well, it is what it is, so let's move on, right? So I hope you all had a great weekend. Hope you made it great. I felt really good about what I achieved in the back room, otherwise known as the black hole. And even though at the time I was complaining that I didn't feel I had done very much, when I actually went back and had a look at what I'd done, and it included, you know, cleaning the windows and the windowsill and all the rest of it, but I just can't believe how dirty that became in probably the 6 months since I really went in there and gave it a good clean. Now, admittedly, it's a room that I just about close the door on and leave, and that's part of the problem, I guess, because I don't see it, and so therefore it doesn't upset me. But it was amazing to me just how dirty it was. But the good news, if there is such a thing as good news on dirt, the good news was it wasn't tobacco stains anymore. And I'm beginning to notice that, you know, when I clean windows and walls, I'm really beginning to notice, wow, it's now dirt, not tobacco that I'm pulling out. Actually, that particular room is the one room that's left that still needs to have a lot more work done on it to get rid of that residue, I guess, of tobacco. And I know it sounds amazing after a year, more than a year now. What are we into? January, February, March, April. Wow. That's 16 months now. But, you know, I just need to systematically keep wiping down books, you know, I don't think you'll ever get rid of it. So I've got a sort of permanent air freshener thing going in there to try and help permeate the fibers and permeate the pages, you know what I mean? All the things that tobacco smoke would have landed on. I'm now using one of those every 9 minutes squirt of things to try and get that into the atmosphere and do the same thing in reverse. I doubt it'll ever fix it, but at least we're giving it a go. We had a really delightful new viewer come visit us this weekend, and you know, it's funny how quickly people get on board. I mean, I know how scary it must be to actually come into a broadcast and not know anybody and just hang out and expose yourself in some ways, because, you know, this particular viewer, bless her heart, you know, told us that she was going through some really difficult stuff. And so all credit to you if you're listening. Because, you know, there's nothing more lonely than being in emotional pain. But there also is nothing more lonely than not having anybody to talk to. And so part of me goes, good for you for actually finding how to get onto the broadcasts, getting onto the broadcasts, and then even though I was having problems, which I was with Vaughan, every time I tried to get onto Vaughan, it was really causing me a problem with the audio. So I had to keep moving back to Tiny Chat, and I just love the Peeps, because the Peeps just go, okay, fine, back to Tiny Chat. They just, it's like, they got it under control. And I'm really grateful for their attitude on that. And so, you know, for a brand new person to arrive in a broadcast room and then find we're all going to move, it would have been easier not to follow us. Much easier. So the fact that this viewer actually did follow us, and I do know your name, I'm just choosing not to use it at the moment, it's like, I was very impressed with that. So I cannot encourage you more than to say that if ever you've got stuff going on, really do come and visit the broadcasts. And the reason that I need to just give some time to this is because you need to know that even though we'll be chit-chatting about probably next to nothing, if you've come in because you've got an issue, you just need to say, I'd like to talk about something. And we will all listen. And that's the amazing thing, is everybody just goes, okay, fine, we're listening now. And everybody does. It's just amazing. And I want to thank the Peeps for that, because they're so good at that. So good at just shutting down and listening. And then once we've got the majority of the information available. Now, this particular viewer didn't know where to start. Do you know what I mean? Just was so overwhelmed, didn't know where to start telling us what the issue was. And so then we said, well, could we ask questions? And she said, sure. And it was such fun because, you know, we then go into our 20 questions because we're good at it. And of course, after we'd asked 3 or 4, and the viewer realized that we were dead serious in helping, you know, she just carried on chatting and told us the story. Wonderful stuff. And I love that. I really do. I love that people do that. And so I encourage you, if you happen to be listening to this particular vlog, to check the links below here, which will tell you the broadcast sites. And I'm hoping that somewhere during the week I'm going to be able to find out why on earth I'm having such a problem with Vaughan. I just don't know why it is, but it's very frustrating. I think the other thing that really delights me is that the scope and range of the viewers that keep coming back. And I say keep coming back because it's like they each bring their own character and delight. I mean, bless his heart, Aussie Pimp came back in this weekend, and even people that only met him for the first time last weekend, you could just see by the way people were saying things, that genuine delight to see him and know they were going to laugh because he's very funny. And then, you know, I think about Paul and all that he's going through in his relationships, and it's really, I guess, interesting for the majority, obviously, of the viewers are women, and it's interesting in a way for us to listen to a man who's got relationship problems. We're so used to having them, and I say problems, he doesn't. I mean, he's got more choices than most of us. So, but you know, to hear him talk about stuff, and it's really good to hear. And then, you know, we've got other viewers that just are amazing. I think about Emily, you know, who's busy doing world championship cheerleading and still makes the time to pop in and say hello, and even if it isn't for very long, she comes in and participates. And then, you know, the ones that bring all sorts of new stuff. I mean, I was thinking about Becca. Becca's got this book, you know, Ruin Your Journal or something it's called. And some of you probably know about it. But none of us would ever have heard of this thing had it not been for Becca, who was so excited about getting hers. And then yesterday was kind enough to bring it and show us how she's been ruining it. It was fascinating. I mean, really fun. I don't know who came up with this idea, but I don't care if it is what I call a 9-day wonder, you know, like a pet rock. I hope that person makes a lot of money in a short time and enjoys it, because I think it's very, very clever on a lot of levels. It's teaching, in a way, it's teaching very high creativity, because instead of saying all the things you can't do, like don't color outside the lines, you know, this book says color outside these lines. You know, it's just like it's doing the opposite of what you're taught. You know, don't bend the spine. This book says bend the spine and crack it. Now, how many of you remember when you're reading books, whatever you do, don't bend the spine? You know, it must be so nice to be like, crack. Yes. So I want to tell you, Becca, I cannot thank you enough. I had such joy watching you with that book. And I cannot believe that that's the second time that you've spoken on the broadcast, because you just do so naturally, and you're so delightful to listen to. Just an absolute wonder to listen to you. So thank you. And then, you know, we have people who come to us in pain. And it's really amazing how many of our viewers actually do have a pretty severe level of pain. And I'm just so grateful for all those who understand it, who, you know, support one another. And, you know, it's scary to me to think that, I think it was Ashley that said this weekend, you know, you're in that level of pain, and yes, you could take the drugs and it would take the pain away, but then you'd be in an almost zombie state. That's how strong the drugs are, which also leads you to know that that's how strong the pain is. And I choose not to live my life that way. So that's a choice, to rather be in pain than to be a zombie. Wow. You know, it makes the rest of us with our aches and pains sort of go, yeah, right, I think I'll just shut up about my aches and pains this week. Now, I was expecting pain this week and didn't get it. I bought some new flipflops. I think that's what they're called in both official languages. I bought some flipflops. Now, I haven't worn flip-flops in a decade. So I knew I was going to get that famous blister between my toes. And so what I did was I thought, let me get it sooner rather than later. So I wore these new flip-flops around the house for almost all of yesterday. No blister. Nobody more surprised than I was. It was just like, wow, what happened here? So, again, I have to say that I was wrong. And the reason I'm saying I was wrong is when I bought these, my reaction to them was, wow, that's expensive for a pair of flip-flops. I think I paid something like 20-something bucks for them. But they obviously were very well made and very well cushioned, which at my age is important for my back. And I never realized that part of what I was paying for was a pair of flip-flops that weren't going to blister me either. So that was well worth 20 bucks to me. Or over 20 bucks, but you know what I'm saying. It was well worth the money. So I was wrong to have a little mutter about that. Some of you will have seen the haul video that I put up yesterday. I got myself some spring clothes, which I desperately needed. And I'm hoping that they will fit. I'm not somebody that tries things on at the store. I take the risk. Anyway, I'm hoping that they will fit, and sorry, I got distracted. There's a little old lady trying to walk, and she was really struggling to walk, and you know, there's that part of me that goes, should I have stopped and given her a lift somewhere? And then, you know, you find out when she likes to take her little morning walk, and quite happy doing it. She didn't look in distress, she just looked incredibly slow on my scale. So it was a good weekend. The only thing that really frustrated me, and I don't quite know what to do with it, I bought insurance for my trailer in January. And I can't find what I did with those documents. And I'm not sure what happens now. So I'll phone up the insurance company and go, I knew I should have put that decal on immediately and I didn't. But I can't find any of the paperwork. So Now it could be that I took it into the house to remind me to change the decal. That was a very bad idea. And if so, it's amongst the papers somewhere in my room. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is phone the insurance company and say, okay, fine, what do I do here? If I have lost them, I'll give myself a few more days of looking, but after that, you know, what's plan B? Let's hope I don't have to completely rebuy the insurance. Well, if I do, that's my own fault, right? It's the price of stupidity. Now, I noticed that what was a pretty day is now, oh, it's gone up to 10 degrees now already. But it's clouded over, it's very hazy, it's almost like we're waiting for the sun to burn off. Okay, I'm sorry. I've just seen 3 fire extinguishers leaning up against a pole. And you don't see that every day. And so for those of you who are creative, and I know some of you really are, why would 3 fire extinguishers be leaning up against a pole? Use your creativity and let's see what results we get. See if anybody's got a fun explanation as to why would there be 3 fire extinguishers leaning up against a pole in the middle of nowhere. When I, you know, just not near a car or not near anything else, just 3 fire extinguishers leaning against the bottom of a telephone pole. This would be interesting. Love it. Okay, so I'm going to get out of here and continue to just finish my last bit of a drive for work. I'm a little bit later than I want to be this morning, but never mind. Oh, there's a guy behind me in his convertible. And he looks like he's thoroughly enjoying it as well. Mind you, he's smart, he's got a bald head. You don't have to worry about your hair when you're driving a convertible when you've got a bald head. This is DearMamaSal saying bye-bye for now.